Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? I know I look worse for the wear. You don't need to tell me. I am exhausted. I just... Oh, and I don't have my anarchy symbol out. Can't have that. No, I'm not looking at my boobs. Okay, here we go. And I forgot to bring the barbed dildo down. I'm definitely demonetized at this point in my video. But the gift from New Hampshire finally arrived in the mail. I'll need to show it off on another show. It even wiggles. It's so adorable. I'm going to be 90 years old and some little kid's going to... Well, no little kid. I'm not going to show any little kid a sex toy. That would not be good. But some young adult over the age of 18 is going to come into my house and be like, hey, old lady, what the heck is this weird thing hanging on your wall? And I will get to explain the whole story of New Hampshire and the barbed dildo. But here we go. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do the show again. If you recall, before I had done a show that explained exactly how credentialing works. Now, it's not that difficult. There are some questionable areas. There are some areas in which reasonable people can disagree. There are some areas in which there are judgment calls. But those aren't the areas we're really going to be discussing tonight. And I am just wondering, what kind of incompetent fools do we have running this party right now? I guess saying incompetent is probably being generous, because I don't think they're incompetent. Actually, I think they're actually very, very smart people who know exactly what they're doing. Incompetence is something that can be cured. You can train. But just not having the right ethics is something that is not much you can do about. So I've decided I'm just going to continue to point out the numerous errors and educate the delegates. Because you want to know what? This convention does not belong to the LNC. This convention does not belong to the Credentialing Committee, and this convention certainly does not belong to Whitney Bill U. This convention belongs to you, the delegates. Those who Nick had once said the party belongs to who shows up, unless it's somebody he doesn't like who shows up. Does somebody have a copy somewhere of Nick's lobster speech? This was before Jordan Peterson, but Nick used to give this lobster speech. And he was using this to excuse Bill Weld, basically, to talk about Bill Weldian libertarians, as if there is such a thing, coming into the party, and how we were this lobster that was growing out of its shell, and it could be painful. If someone has this lobster speech of Nick's, please send me a copy, because I would like to give Nick the same lobster speech. Because unfortunately, it doesn't seem that he can live by his own words. It was okay for people to be upset about Bill Weldian alleged libertarians, but actual libertarians that just happen to be a little bit more conservative than him. Oh no, don't shoot until you see the whites of their hoods, eh, Mr. Sarwark? How dare you make such a disgusting joke? But anyway, we're here to talk about credentialing now, aren't we? So, let me show you. And of course, as seems to be the case this year, last year, all roads led to New Hampshire. This year, all roads lead to Delaware. Yes, welcome to Delaware. All roads lead to Delaware, apparently. So I want to show you the latest in the Delaware saga and why Mary Ruhr is the GOAT. Man, I love that woman. So let me pull up here. You don't want to be looking at my file thing here. No, we don't want to be looking at bylaws, which we will be. We want to be looking at this. And John Phillips' complete hypocrisy. So, here's Mary Ruhrt's second clarification to the chair, who is playing dumb, because Whitney is not dumb. Whitney is not dumb. So here she says, Madam Chair, here is the further clarification you asked for. And it turns out, she didn't say this, but it turns out that I was absolutely correct. I've been proven once again absolutely correct. The majority opinion does not state that only Heinz, LaPure, and Casey are board members. It says that the boards includes these members. We cannot say who the others are, as we did not and still do not have complete information on the others. The October 1st date refers to the bylaws, not to the board composition, as we stated in our clarification, and as they said in their original opinion. All you need to do is ask the chair of LP Delaware, Mr. Hines, who the members of its board are. I have copied him on this email so he can answer your question. Board members may have resigned, died, or been replaced. We have no way of knowing other than consulting the legitimate chair. Let me know if you have any further concerns or questions. Mary J. Ruhr, JC Chair, the GOAT. And I love how Susan is right here, but then Susan goes on to say something completely wrong, but she is absolutely right here. I will say when people are right, she says, she made a mistake and she said an upset. And here's John Phillips. Now remember, John Phillips was agreeing with Aaron Adams at my alleged removal motion that even if the bylaws are immoral, we have to follow them. Remember that? I remember. Prepperidge Farm remembers, apparently, but Mr. Phillips, I hate you all, I resign, doesn't remember. John Phillips, I respectfully disagree. Really? Is that the same respect you showed people on social media when you told them, well, we won't even get into that. I did a video on that on my Facebook page today. The JC has even less authority to make a determination than we do. Says who, John? The bylaws don't say that. And here's the fact. JCs can make bad decisions. I think they made a horrible decision when it comes to me. But you want to know what I did? I said, okay, that's the decision they made. It will have to be solved at Reno. Because the buck has to stop somewhere. And in our bylaws, the buck stops with the JC. The LNC has zero authority. And I know Mr. Sarwark did this in the past. And I'm even beginning to rethink my reaction to that. But he did not involve the whole LNC in this. The buck stops with the JC. The buck, particularly in something that's very, very arguable. If they do something that is completely against, like, say, Roberts, where it says you cannot do X, okay, maybe John would have an argument. But what John's arguing about here is an interpretation of bylaws. The JC has the final word. Sorry, dude, but them's the facts. I get what it's like not to like a JC decision. Believe me, I understand what it's like to think that a JC decision sucks. But you have to abide by it because you are not the final word, dear sir. As such, we are under no obligation to follow directives that do not fall under their purview. In other words, if I don't agree with them, John Phillips says, we as the LNC don't have to follow it. Well, John, I hope then you have no problem with me marching my happy ass on stage at the National Convention, telling John Wilford to step aside, that I don't agree with the JC, and I have no obligation to follow that directive, and I am going to be convention committee convention secretary. No, I don't think he would think that was okay. And I, in fact, don't think that's okay. I can joke around. I could do my LNC secretary in exile. I can do my work to the best of my ability. But I wouldn't have the gall to think that I could just pretend like this JC decision doesn't exist. Particularly, again, there's a whole thing with the Oregon thing, which I'm sure people will bring up, where Nick Sarwark ignored an order of the JC. And why do I think that was valid and this isn't? It's because the JC attempted to rescind something 5 years later that was settled, and you cannot rescind something that has already been executed. You cannot unring a bell, as it says. You can't unpaint a house. You can't unring a bell. The only correct course of action here is to stay out of it. Well, John, sorry, you don't get to make those decisions. You are absolutely unqualified to be on the LNC if you think that you can just do this. And let the delegates decide. Yes, the delegates will decide. But you don't get to stay out of it. You have to follow the JC decision. And yes, the delegates then can override the JC in Reno. You can ask the delegates to override the JC in Reno. In fact, I'm really highly considering asking the delegates in Reno to override the JC. But until then, suck it up, Buttercup. I've had to do that for 9 months now. As I have maintained, and at least two members of the JC agree with. Well, the two most distinguished members of the JC, D. Frank Robinson and Mary Ruard, agree with me. So I guess that makes it okay for me too, John Phillips. You are such a hypocrite. My God. No, you have to suck it up like I did, John. Them's the breaks. Which will happen anyway to more states than Delaware. Is that a threat? It's true, so I'm being somewhat facetious in saying, is that a threat? But right now we're talking about Delaware. We stand all the time against the expansion of government power, while you allegedly also stand against the suppression of free speech, but we see how that went with you. We also allegedly stand against the idea that mere words are violence, but we see what you did with that, don't we, Mr. Phillips? So, if we attempt to expand our power here, which is exactly what you are trying to do, John, by disregarding a JC decision, or recognize the expansion of power of the JC, wait a minute, John. I thought you said if the bylaws grant them that authority, that you just have to live with it, even if you don't agree with it. The bylaws say the JC until convention is the final word. The final word ultimately is the delegates in Reno. On that point, he is absolutely correct. We are not only in the wrong bylaws-wise. You didn't care that you were in the wrong bylaws-wise. Everyone's in the chat and YouTube, Mike. I don't know what you're saying because I'm seeing a bunch of chat. We go against what we claim to stand for. Well, you did that in September, so cry me a river. Making a mockery of our stated principles and hypocrites of us all. You did that in September, John. It's a bit too late to be worried about that. But okay, enough on that. And then Ken says if this board is going to ignore the JC ruling, then both sites should come down from lp.org and let the delegates decide. No, Ken Molman, you are wrong. You do not have the right to exclude a legitimate affiliate from lp.org. I know you are just trying to be a peacemaker here, but you are wrong. You are absolutely and utterly wrong. If you're going to say that the legitimate LP affiliate should come down, the Delaware affiliate from lp.org, you should pull down all of the affiliates. And then here's where Susan went completely off the rails. But she does walk this back. After we go through this list here, we're going to talk about what credentialing actually does. So she goes off the rails here, but she does pull it back. I plan to credential delegates from both parties. You have zero, utterly zero authority to do that, Susan. You cannot credential more than the number of delegates that have been computed by the secretary, who was me at the time. I still am, as far as I'm concerned, but whatever. You have no authority to credential more than that. So in that, I agree with you. But we are choosing sides, or rather, we are drifting along and letting the status quo choose sides because it suits some members of this committee. She is absolutely right on that point. The second point, not the first point. Our website identifies McVeigh's party as our affiliate. If you want us to stay out of it, you should be calling with me for that to be corrected at once. She is absolutely correct. Now, again, Susan does walk this back. I will give her credit for that. John says, I was under the impression that we were supposed to be recognizing both. Really? Against the bylaws, John, that says there can only be one affiliate in the state? Weren't you so worried about the bylaws? Like, okay, this was, it doesn't give. Like, within hours of this email? My God. If we are not, then I do agree that needs to be the corrected one way or another. I do not support correcting it in the way you suggest because he's supporting Will McVeigh, which is just gross. Link both or neither, I don't care which. No, you link the legitimate affiliate, John, or you should be advocating for your affiliate not to be linked on the website. And then Susan is right here. I've asked the chair for this simple action several times. I was hoping to avoid public drama, but that seems to be very much like the stonewalling. She's correct. Susan is absolutely correct. Then Whitney finally sent Mr. Hines his letter, I guess, of authenticity. The website should be updated tomorrow. It took them 10 seconds to it was 10 minutes, but I'm exaggerating a little. Allow me a little embellishment. 10 minutes to remove my access from the website and take my picture down. Why would the website be updated tomorrow? I've seen the back end of LP.org. It is a WordPress site. I could update the website in 2 seconds. There is no reason it needed to wait until tomorrow. Has it been corrected yet? This is 1 day ago. Let's go look. I would hope it's corrected by now. I'm not even sure where the affiliates are because they switched this around a little bit. Libertarian Party, who we are. Membership. Anyone know where they frickin' changed to where the affiliates are on this website? I like the new website. It looks really good, but I'm a bit lost as to where the affiliates are. They used to have something that said affiliate map. Membership, lifetime members, Liberty links, bylaws, issues. Can anyone help me here? It's up. Okay, Ned Kelly tells me it's updated. I trust him. That way I don't have to sit looking at that. Okay, and then here's Whitney. Whitney apparently failed to read the part of Roberts where it says that the chair is supposed to remain impartial and is just supposed to be facilitating business. Because Whitney has been anything but impartial. Whitney is the worst chair we've ever had. Now, I do make a distinction. Nick is the worst elected chair we've ever had, and also the best elected chair we've ever had. Whitney was not elected by the delegates. I still maintain that Whitney is not the legitimate chair. Ken Molman is. But if we're going to pretend like she is, I wish somebody had appealed that. If we're going to pretend like she is, she's the worst appointed chair we've ever had. So she says, I'm glad to hear, Susan, that you don't intend to take sides with regards to delegates at the convention. Let me translate this for you. Whitney said, I'm glad to hear, Susan, that you're planning on just completely disregarding the legitimacy of a legitimate affiliate at convention because I don't like a JC decision. Whitney should not be chairing this convention. She has shown over and over again, and this statement right here shows that she cannot impartially chair the credentialing portion of the convention. Maybe she can impartially chair the rest. I don't know. But she should recuse herself from the credentialing portion. She has stonewalled and completely and purposely misconstrued Mary Ruwart's decision. Well, the JC's decision, but Mary Ruwart's words afterwards. She has proven herself completely a partisan in this issue and should recuse herself from the credentialing portion and let Ken Molman handle that portion. Now, here's where Susan walks things back a little bit. Certainly, the ultimate disposition of the Delaware delegation is up to the full convention body if it is still contested at the time of convention. I do take sides as an individual and a delegate, but I do not intend to use the Credentials Committee as a weapon against fellow libertarians. By saying that you intend to credential them both, you are using it as a weapon against fellow libertarians. And then she walks it back even more. And I think that's the last message. Although, to be clear, after reading Mr. Krause's recognition letter, any delegates presented by an alternate affiliate, they're not an alternate affiliate, they are pretenders, will almost certainly be credentialed as clearly that. You cannot credential them at all, Susan. Allow me a Princess Bride moment here. You keep using that word credential, Ms. Hogarth, but I do not think that means what you think it means. And then she's going to say something that is famous last words. I don't think she learned her lesson last time because she said this exact same thing in 2020. she says, blah, 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 blah. Hold on. I got to put on my glasses. It's right at the, my screen is right at the point where I can kind of see it. Delegates presented by a non-authorized Delaware Libertarian Party. They're not, there's no such thing as a non-authorized Delaware Libertarian Party. They're not a Delaware Libertarian Party. She goes, or some such wording to be decided by the committee solely in anticipation of a challenge at the General Convention and as a means of saving time. Whenever you hear someone on the LNC saying that they're just going to go ahead and preemptively make a decision for the delegates to save time, the theme music from Jaws should start playing in your head. Because this is what Susan Hogarth said last convention. Why did she vote for the LNC against our own bylaws and their own authority to just unilaterally declare that online delegates would be seated? To save time. How much time, Ms. Hogarth, did we save? You guys, because of your overreach that I voted against, wasted an entire day, flushed the work of that platform committee from that year down the drain. Because you thought you knew better. Because you thought you knew better than the delegates. And you were going to paternalistically decide that you were just going to do something to save time. If there's one thing you should learn in this party is that the minute somebody says they're doing something to save time, that it's going to take 10 times as long as if they had just done it the right way the first time. You have zero right to anticipate a challenge and credential both of them that is completely outside the scope of the Credentials Committee. Do you think that the delegates are so stupid that they don't know that there's going to be a challenge? Or if you don't remind them, oopsie, Will McVeigh is going to be sitting in the audience and go, oh my goodness, if Susan Hogarth didn't remind me, I would have forgotten to get up and exercise my rights to challenge the delegation. You don't need to anticipate the challenge, Susan, to credential both of them to save time. You need to shut your mouth, do your job, and let the delegates handle this. You tried this shit in 2020 and it blew up in your face, and you're trying this shit again because you think you know better than everybody else, and you don't. It really, if I'm sounding angry, it's because I am. Because I'm seeing my platform committee getting its work thrown down the drain again. Because Susan Hogarth has decided that she knows better and is going to save time. Please, if anyone out there is on the Credentials Committee, she can't decide this on her own. Please vote that shit down. Now we're going to talk about what you can do as Credentials Committee. And some of the things I'm going to tell you can do are decisions that I don't like. But it is the only thing that's in your authority. Susan, at this point, to be honest with you, and I will tell you right off, and I regret my vote. I voted for her to be Credential Committee's permanent chair. Well, I voted for her to be interim, right? And then she got voted by the committee to be permanent chair. I can't remember. But whatever vote it was that I did that put her as interim chair, I regret that vote. I knew she screwed up 2020, but I thought 2022 would be normal. I should never assume that. I'm sorry for that vote. I take full responsibility for it. But please, Credentialing Committee, put an end to this and vote this down. Or even better, I hate to say this, but the LNC right now is simply not trusted. And Susan could do the best job in the entire world. And people are still going to think there is funny business going on because no one trusts this LNC. The best thing she could do for the Credentialing Committee and for the convention at this point is to cede the chair to somebody else. because people do not trust the LNC. No, I am not asking for her to be removed as chair. She was validly elected, and I'm not a removal type of person. But I am appealing to Susan as a person. Do the convention a favor and let somebody else chair the credentials committee, or at least give the report. Chair the meetings, I don't give a crap. Have someone else give the report, because people do not trust the LNC, and you're an LNC member. That might be completely unfair. Life sometimes is unfair. But you saying shit like you said on this list right here, I don't trust you. I don't trust you at all. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. And if you want this convention to go smoothly, maybe get Emily Salvet up there. Now, I know she's not even on the credentials committee this time, but you know the person who delivers the report doesn't have to be on the committee. It can be an outsider. Yeah, JJ just said what I said. Emily Salvet has been credentialing committee chair for years. She's beloved and she's trusted. And as far as I know, she's never had a dog in any of these fights. Susan, I implore you, let Emily Salvet, if she is willing, give the report. You can still be the chair. Chair all the meetings. I don't care. But for the sake of this party, let Emily Salvet give the report. Please. Now let's talk about what the credentialing committee can do. We have to go to our bylaws for that. I know reading bylaws to some of you guys, you'd rather have your teeth pulled out without anesthesia. But unfortunately, this is what we're going to do. And crap, I'm trying to make these bigger. Okay. Let's go to various parts here, because we're going to need to put a puzzle together. And I know there's some members of the credentialing committee who might be new watching this, so I want to try to help them in their arguments against Ms. Hogarth. Delegate allocation, number 4, item C. And this is, hold on, let me let you know. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Hold on. I'm looking at something, and no wonder you guys are wondering what I'm talking about, because I haven't shared my screen yet. Here we go. Yes, I did. Derp. Here we go. You should be seeing the bylaws now. Yes, you are. Okay, what is this? This is Bylaw Article 10, Conventions. A list of the names and addresses of all delegates and alternates chosen by each affiliate party. Not non-authorized affiliate party. Not fake affiliate party. Not the Mandalorian party. A list of the names and addresses of all delegates and alternates chosen by each affiliate party, meaning each officially recognized affiliate party, shall be sent to the Credentials Committee, and it gives a deadline. That is all the Credentials Committee can report out, is the names that are submitted. The Credentials Committee has no authority, A, to accept names of alternates or delegates that were submitted by anyone other than a recognized affiliate, and they cannot on their own, to save time, add names they think someone might move from the floor. Our bylaws define what an affiliate party is. Let's go there. Hold on. Affiliate parties. You can read the whole bylaw yourself, but the one important one here is, there shall be no more than one state-level affiliate party. You cannot report from 2. There can only be 1. And each state-level affiliate party shall, in accordance with its own bylaws and these bylaws, determine who shall be its delegates to all regular conventions. It is not the job of the Credentials Committee to determine who the delegates are. They are to report out who the affiliates have determined who the delegates are. Now, JJ and I have had a little bit of a disagreement on this. I do not think the delegates can be challenged for any other reason, any of the delegates, except for they were not chosen in accordance with the state affiliate's own bylaws or the national bylaws. To me, that is the only legitimate ground to challenge delegates. That is what our bylaws say. The Credentials Committee has very, very, very limited authority. There are some circumstances where things get hairy. Oregon was one such circumstance. That is not what is going on here with Delaware. It is perfectly clear. The JC has ruled there is only one affiliate in Delaware that is recognized by the National Party, and that is who the Credentials Committee is obligated to report out. Now, a member will then, and this is the members' rights, Susan. I know that's not particularly important to you because you didn't care who they elected as their secretary, but it's the members' rights to then get up and say, I move to substitute, I forget how many delegates the legitimate affiliate gets, 4 of them, for these 4 names. And I believe they need to give a reason within our bylaws. But that is up to the members to make those arguments and make those points of order and all of that. Not the Credentials Committee. It's not your job to save time. Please show me where in the bylaws, Ms. Hogarth, it gives you the authority to cut corners and make decisions outside of the bylaws in order to save time. It does not. Now, let me tell you how these rules are going to be used in a way I don't like, but it's still the rules. There are right now 2 different groups in Massachusetts claiming to be the legitimate affiliate. Because the LNC has cowardly refused to hear from the members of Massachusetts and make a decision, the one that is recognized by the National Party, I am going to call right now the Chris Crawford faction, because I don't really even know who their chair is right now. The only person I know from that side is Chris Crawford. I'm not picking on her. She just happens to be the person I know, because Ashley Shade is no longer chair. I don't know who the chair is. And on the other side, we'll call the Brody faction. So Chris faction and Brody faction, because those are the 2 people I know the best. I happen to believe the Brody faction is the correct affiliate, but they are not the ones that are officially recognized by the National Party at this time. So guess who the Credential Committee has to report out? They have to report out the 20 delegates submitted by the Chris faction, even though I believe they are the wrong delegates. The onus then becomes upon me or other people who think like I do to get up and challenge those 20. Ms. Hogarth has no authority to go, oh, I know Karen Ann Harlos is going to challenge this, so I'm going to report out both groups. No. You can only report out the Chris Crawford group, even though I think that's the wrong group. It's up to me to challenge it, not up to you to decide you're going to, be my mama and hold my hand to save time. So I'm being very consistent here, even when the bylaws are going to do something that I don't agree with, which is initially reporting out the Chris Crawford faction, because I don't think they're the legitimate affiliate. But that's going to be for the delegates to decide, and not for the Credentialing Committee, particularly Susan Hogarth, to try to save time. Now, just to be sure we didn't miss anything, we are going to look for everywhere credentials appears in the bylaws. Okay, this is talking about appeals. We're not dealing with that. We just dealt with this bylaw. Okay, by 7/8 vote, the convention may approve additional delegates and alternates whose names and addresses are submitted to the Credentials Committee during the convention. That's for ones that are added later. That's a whole other thing. That's not really relevant to what we're doing now. Additional alternates and delegates who show up late can be supplemented, and it requires a very high vote threshold to add them. I don't agree with that high threshold, but it is what it is. And JJ, I disagree with you. I don't think the committee can decide the other group is legitimate. I don't think they have that within their power. That's up to the LNC. Only the LNC can either affiliate or disaffiliate, not the Credentials Committee. That's not their power. I just respectfully disagree. Here we go. Duly selected alternates may be freely substituted. Nothing there. An alternate keeps going. There's the Credentials Committee again. Talks about minority reports. Talks about issuing tokens. That's it. Those is the bylaws authority of the Credentialing Committee. Now, of course, there's a whole bunch about them in Roberts as well, which would then supplement the whatchamacallit, the bylaws. So I'm going to see if there's anything interesting in here. And it just talks about verifying their eligibility and how to register. Their eligibility is according to their own state bylaws and the national bylaws. And now I'm going to go to some questions. There's just one other thing here I wanted to look at. I love this sentence, though. Cases of contested seats in a delegation will seldom arise, except in political conventions. But here's what I wanted to read. In the rare event of a contest between two delegates or groups of delegates in serious doubt as to which is entitled to be seated, the committee should omit both from the report. Including both of them is not an option. There's very few options the Credentials Committee report has. But one of the options they don't have is including them both. Okay. Chuck, I will get to your question in a moment here. I'm going back to the beginning of the questions first. Libertarian against lynching. I disagree with you, actually. Let me put this on the screen and let me go back to my main screen. Whoops, I did the wrong thing. Libertarian against lynching says Hall Monitor Hogarth. I just love that name. Wants to help run out the clock so little business gets done and the current LNC gets to select the next LNC. I don't believe that. Just my honest opinion, I don't believe that. I legitimately think she believes she's going to save time. Okay, now Chuck Moulton's question. I'm going to put this up on the screen. Are you saying when you, and it's not going to be me, by the way, so it would be someone else. I don't plan on challenging anybody. I'm too busy with other stuff. And I've got my own issues. I don't want to be dealing with, listen, I'm not making any promises. Let's just put it this way. At this point in time, oh, I love that picture of you, Chuck, playing chess there. I just noticed that. I'm not planning on it. Who knows? The excitement of convention, sometimes you end up doing things you didn't plan on. So let's just say, are you saying when someone moves that the Massachusetts delegation be replaced with 20 different delegates and the chair asks, are all of these people suggested for substitution, national or state party members and valid under these bylaws, the credential committee should respond with, we weren't allowed to look at that. No, that's not at all what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting that those questions be answered to the delegates. The Credentials Committee itself isn't all up on the stage. This will be done during the adoption of the Credentials Committee report, and the party chair will make inquiries or other delegates will make inquiries. There's no question right now who the National Party recognizes as the Massachusetts delegation. There's no question at all. I think they're wrong, but there's no question about it. So someone will move and challenge that that's not the legitimate thing. Now, once that happens, and here's where we may be having a disconnect. I do think it would be in order for a recess to be taken, for these questions, first of all, to be asked by the members, then a recess to be taken for the Credentials Committee to verify the eligibility of the 20 people, and then the decision be put to the delegates. But they don't get to proactively do this. They have to wait for a challenge from the delegates. That is the delegates' prerogative, not the Credentials Committee's prerogative. And as I said, I think National recognizes the wrong Massachusetts delegation. Now, if National was responsible and really cared about having a smooth national convention, they would stop stonewalling and actually have a meeting to deal with this issue, let it be heard, and let either side appeal to the Judicial Committee if they think they were wrong, and let there be a Judicial Committee decision so that we could settle this just like we did Delaware, one way or the other. But the LNC is stonewalling and refusing to give Massachusetts the same rights that they gave to Delaware. I'm going to put Chuck's up here. Chuck says, I think the Credentials Committee should prepare in advance so they can answer the question immediately. It's not up to them to answer the question immediately. It's up to the people wanting to make the substitution. The burden of proof is on the people who wish to make the substitution, rather than needing a recess. Because they can't go out actively seeking alternative groups of delegates. That's not their job. Their job is to provide the portal to the legitimately recognized affiliate to submit their delegates. It is not their job to go hunting out every Tom, Dick, and Harry to find out who, in fact, might be a alternate delegate. I'm glad we agree that you are not saying they should present two different groups. I am saying they should do due diligence in advance. No, the people that need to do due diligence in advance and be ready are the people who are wanting to substitute. They should come with receipts. They should come with proof to be able to give to the Credentials Committee and the rest of the members in convention that these people are qualified. It's not difficult to prove they're qualified. The Massachusetts situation is going to be somewhat complicated, but the type of due diligence required to figure out which of those two is the actual affiliate is way beyond the scope of the Credentials Committee. It's within the scope of the JC, and it's within the scope of the LNC. It's not within the scope of the Credentials Committee by any stretch of the imagination. And the LNC, if it cared about this convention, would have a frickin' meeting about it and let people appeal if they wish to appeal. But the LNC needs to stop being cowards and make a decision. They are not being fair to the Credentials Committee by refusing to have a meeting. And here, Dave, I will somewhat disagree with you. It says if people with hurt butt disease would stop trying to form alternative state affiliates, then we can have a smooth national convention. I half agree with you. I think that is what happened with the McVeigh faction, but I don't believe that's what happened with the Massachusetts faction. Massachusetts members called under their bylaws and under their rights to have a recall election, which they were allowed to do, and merely for signing a petition, they were expelled from the party. If, and I firmly believe this, but I could be wrong because our current LNC doesn't have a backbone. If we weren't within this 6-month force field protection where you're not allowed to disaffiliate anyone, and the Massachusetts party did that, I think there's a very good chance they would have been disaffiliated by the National Party. Maybe not, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think there was a good chance they would have been disaffiliated. The only reason they were able to get away with what they did is because they're protected right now. That 6-month window needs to be shrunk. I think to 3 months, honestly, or to something like 3 months. Like, I'm trying to protect affiliates that have already had their convention further out than 3 months. But 6 months is just, a general 6 months is just too long. That was created back when communication was much slower. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have email. We didn't have all of that. That 6 months is way too long. And I think we've learned our lesson this time. But the Credentials Committee does not have this authority. The LNC does, though. And the LNC should stop being cowards and hold a frickin' meeting. And then I'm sorry, Chuck. I'm sorry to do this to you. And let the appeal happen. Oh, that's a great idea, Chuck. Chuck says, in my opinion, we should have a bylaws change that raises the threshold for a disaffiliation vote within a window, but not prohibit disaffiliation entirely. That's the first time I've thought of it, so I don't want to say, like, immediately I like that idea, but my initial reaction is I like that idea. Because what if, like, I don't know, like an affiliate can do something really crazy, you know, to prohibit it entirely is like writing a blank check. Like, what if an affiliate, like, really nuts up? We can't do anything about it? You know, I think I agree with you. I think I agree with you there. You're on the bylaws committee. Make it happen. Oh, boy. Okay, guys. I have the one reason why I'm looking like... I know people think this is a dirty expression, but it's not. It's an expression from horseback riding that I look like I've been ridden hard and put away wet. I know that's how I look right now because I'm the Colorado Convention Oversight Committee chair unexpectedly. And yes, I did burn the side of my face with a curling iron in Pennsylvania. Maybe one of John Waldenberger's 10 sticks of frozen butter that can help me heal that. But I've got a lot of work to do. I've got ballots to prepare. I've got name badges to prepare. I got credentialing to do. Not me, to help. Credentialing to do was the wrong way. We've got a brand new credentials chair. But boy, did we luck out. Chuck, check this out. I was freaking out because the gal who normally does our credentials, she's a pro. She's been doing it forever. But, you know, you can't expect people to be doing things forever. And she just said this time, listen, I've done it enough. I don't want to do it this time. It's Beatrice Sutton. She's a pro, okay? So we had to find a new credentials chair. Tell me we didn't luck out. We got this brand new party member who has done not political party credentials, but credentials for other conventions of like thousands of people. Like he would be qualified to be on the National Credentials Committee. So we lucked out. We lucked out. So he's doing a great job. And thank God, Beatrice also, within the past couple weeks, has said that she would like to assist. So hopefully credentialing will go smooth in Colorado. Because Colorado's a weird beast. It's not the same as other parties. We don't have dues payers. It's like, it's the Wild West out here. All right, unless there's any further questions, or unless any of you have pity on me and would like to help contribute to my re-election campaign by sending me a super chat, please clap. I'm going to be going. And by the way, the other night in the discussion with Angela and I, $120 was raised. I sent Angela the $60 as I promised that I would split all super chats with her that evening. I did send that to her. So both of us thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your contributions to our respective campaigns. I think that's it. I'm tired. I'm ready for Reno to be over. I bet you're relieved, Chuck, though, that Pennsylvania's over. I bet you are so frickin' relieved. And why didn't you run for the Pennsylvania Judicial Committee? I was curious about that. And I guess that's it. I'm just giving a few minutes to see if there's any further questions, as I do. Need to get some of my fuel. Tomorrow, I do hope to do history again. Please, sweet baby Jesus in a manger, let there be no party drama for 24 hours. Please. So Chuck says he serves as the election committee's chair. Board members cannot serve on the JC. Oh, okay. I forgot about that rule of y'all's. Gotcha. Well, I'll be glad when the Colorado convention is over. And then I'll be glad when Reno's over. I have to tell you, I just want it to be over at this point. I want to know what I'm going to be doing for the next 2 years. Because I'm not rerunning in Colorado. So one thing I will not be doing for the next 2 years is being Colorado secretary. A qualified person has stepped up. I'm hoping a qualified person steps up to be county secretary. I want to know what I'm going to be doing for the next 2 years. It's either going to be just average member volunteering or being national secretary. And if I'm just doing the average member volunteering, I'm going to take up sewing again for 2 years. And sew some Game of Thrones costumes for the 2024 convention, I guess. I don't know. But I really just want to know what my next 2 years holds. All right, everyone. I love y'all. Hopefully tomorrow we will be back to what I really love doing. More of LP News. More history. And I will see you all later. Bye-bye.
Given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business, not because